weapon is going to be used. A mile away?
I think we even got a clip.
Do we have the clip of that test being put through?
For our test, we set up a watermelon to represent the victim. The result would have been deadly. You can see where the bullet entered right here. Inside is just soup. Next, we decided to make it a little more challenging, but the car door was no match for the giant 50 caliber round. Finally, we set up an old police bulletproof vest. This time, the result was stunning.
In that last test, the 50 cal bullet went through the material in a police bulletproof vest, destroyed the watermelon inside, then went through another layer of vest. And the ban vetoed by Christie. Here's the scariest thing about the weapon. It's been marketed for its ability to shoot down aircraft with a single shot. And that's how it's been used by drug gangs in Mexico, to shoot down police helicopters. And there are already instances of that on record, Rich.
Now here's my point. I think Chris Christie is one of the more talented politicians. I think that he's shown a willingness, certainly as we saw post-Sandy, to not only go across the aisle here and embrace the president, but he also went after the Tea Party types. But he's smart. And to take that calculation to veto those 3 pieces of legislation that had broad political support in an election year in New Jersey, to me speaks volumes about the challenges in Washington about getting stuff through. When you veto, my God, ammo to shoot down planes, that's where we are.
But what did the veto message say? I'm very interested in what was the reasoning behind it, not just a clip of why, because quite frankly, anybody who, we talk about, we're worried about an assassination of some sort with that weapon. Anybody who's using that weapon is not obeying the law to begin with. So you could have signed that piece of legislation in. They're going to find that weapon. They're going to find the bullets to go with that weapon. They're going to do their self-destruction on it. I'd like to hear what the veto message said, not just the thought that he vetoed it and somehow it was against the
But
popular will.
isn't it the problem we have? We're trying to find a rationalization for something that makes sense, that shouldn't be legal. And we're trying to find what could have been the motivation for it. You shouldn't have the thing.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I work backwards. You can make an argument that they can get it somewhere else, but let's start that process. So I would like to read the veto
That's all I would like to know is
yeah.
what the reasoning behind it was.
Yeah, but if it's because he's running for president and he cares nationally, that's the destructive part of what happens
it's
to
the
our
real
party.
part too,
Yeah.
right? As
so
the
I hope that's not it, because I think he is a phenomenal, straightforward, candid politician, elected official, leader.
Congressman, the funny part is that, if you go into the social media stuff, is that I have more arguments with people on the right who think that Christie is a far left lunatic who hates guns. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing to me. Yeah. It's almost as if he ticks everybody off on the issue, which I find,
Can I just add?
Sure.
Once you veto the bill, and I respect that the veto message is important, but you veto a bill, there's ways to get a bill to a point where you want as a governor, short of a veto. And that's when they're passing it, you call and you say, you know what, I'm not going to sign it unless you change it this way. And I would argue Chris Christie had that opportunity for every one of these bills to make them acceptable so that he could do a step in the right direction, albeit not perfect, rather than using it, what looks like politics, to do a veto message.
With all due respect, I watched the governor up close in New York try to deal with the Assembly Democrats. Sometimes it's easier said than done. And I think Chris Christie has the same hurdle with Democrats in New Jersey, sometimes on a much different page.
But either way,
not all is as reasonable as you are, as you know.
But either way, the net result is military sniper rifles that can kill people from a mile away, still legal for purchase in New Jersey.
So the ball's in his court. He's got to do something. Yeah. And the question is, what will he do? And it'll be interesting to see.
It will be.
Okay, when we come back, it's fun. I get to force every one of the panelists here to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. Well, maybe not a mile, but what would it be like, for example, in New Jersey, if our friend Tom Doherty was the aforementioned Governor Chris Christie and has to navigate a very interesting next 12 months here with different political aspirations. We'll get into that and a lot more. And drag our poor friend Mr. Shays back into Congress as well for the hypothetical. We'll be right back, so stay with us.